The big story emerging politically from Punjab is the prospect of Arvind Kejriwal's Aam Aadmi Party extending their political presence from the national capital to a significant Indian state. If AAP manages to win in Punjab, like these polls are predicting, then it would be the fastest rise to unicorn status for any political party, to go from one state to having a government in the second. Why could AAP win? What could go against them? And where are these seats coming from? We'll look at that in the first few minutes of this broadcast. I want to show you where the big AAP wins are coming from. If you look at the map of Punjab, go deep into the area of Malwa, you will find that most of the AAP wins projected by Access My India are actually coming from this very crucial Malwa belt. And it is, remember, in Malwa that the Aam Aadmi Party did relatively well in 2017 also. Out of these 69 seats, the Aam Aadmi Party, according to Access My India, and I've got Pradeep Gupta with me here in the studio, he predicts that AAP could win 63 out of the 69 seats in Malwa. That's a whopping domination of this very crucial belt. If you look at the Congress in Malwa, down to just 4 seats, the Shiromani Akali Dal in Malwa is likely to win just 1. The BJP, 0. Of all these 69 seats, remember, Malwa is the area that includes Patiala, Barnala, Sangrur, which is where Bhagwant Maan comes from, Faridkot, Bathinda, Moga, Firozpur, Fatehgarh Sahib. So this is a very, very crucial belt which has seen a lot of agrarian distress. And here, the poll that's been put out suggests that the Aam Aadmi Party could walk away with virtually all the seats in this region. 63 out of 69 is a phenomenal strike rate, like the BJP at its peak. And AAP, remember, is used to big victories, which is what they achieved in Delhi when they won 67 out of 70 seats. That's quite unbelievable, but that's what they were able to pull off. From Malwa, let's just go to Majha. And remember, Majha is crucial because in Majha, the Aam Aadmi Party did poorly in the 2017 elections. So from there, in areas like Amritsar, Gurdaspur, Pathankot, Taran, the Aam Aadmi Party has been able to establish itself according to this poll. They're almost twice the number of seats that the Congress is predicted to bag in Majha. Congress expected to get 7, the Aam Aadmi Party 14, the Akalis just 3. This is the Panthik heartland. So when the Akalis come down to just 3, it also shows how Akalis as a brand in Punjab are a diminishing force. The BJP thought they'd do well in the urban pockets. That's not happening. Finally, let's now come to Doab. And here, it's interesting to note that despite what's happening in Malwa and Majha, where AAP is doing well, in areas like Jalandhar, Kapurthala, Hoshiarpur, Nawashahar, the AAP is actually behind the Congress. This is the one region, and it's pretty interesting, and I'll ask Pradeep this question in a moment, that you've got AAP sweeping in 2 regions, but in Doab, you've got the Congress at 12, the AAP at 5, Akalis do reasonably well. They get 4 here relative to their performance elsewhere, and the BJP gets 2. In Doab, there's a 10% vote share gap with the Congress actually ahead and the AAP at 27. So you've got the AAP winning Majha in a big way in comparison with what they did last time. They're sweeping the Malwa belt, and in Doab, they're coming out short. Let's just spend a moment on this region-wise breakup put up by Pradeep Gupta. 63 out of 69, which essentially suggests that, and while we traveled through Malwa, it was very clear that AAP was popular, but you're predicting a Delhi-style victory in the Malwa belt.
Yes,
Why?
That's the case. The reason is very simple. See, Rahul, there is something called the brand equity, and there is something called the outlets. So, in case of Aam Aadmi Party, they have been having a very good presence in Malwa regions, and in fact in 2014 when they contest the election first time in Punjab, they secured 4 seats out of total 13.
So what is it about Malwa that makes it so prone to being pro-AAP?
It's just the presence. It's just the presence. You have to have the outlet to convert the brand into the reality.
No, but why don't they have an outlet in Doab, for example?
Doab, they couldn't. See, I'll tell you, it takes time. It takes time to establish themselves. Or
they've had the same amount of time in both places.
Pardon?
They've had the same amount of time.
No, it's not about the time. Rahul, distribution is too big a thing. I am trying to tell you how it is. BJP took from 1980 to 1996, 16 years to come in the national scenario. It's 16 years. It's too big a time. So it takes time. You need to build, eat by eat, ek karke. But in Jalandhar, traditionally, first of all, Doab has Jalandhar is the dominated district, and there it's a urban, pure urban kind of a thing. And traditionally, Congress is very strong within Jalandhar urban seats, and Akalis are very strong in outer seat, which is the village seats. So somehow AAP couldn't find the credible face in Doab region so far, and that is the reason why you simply seeing the 10% difference between Congress and Aam Aadmi Party in Doab.
Okay, let's now come to the caste-wise breakup of Punjab, and here again it's interesting to see what actually happened with the projection of Charanjit Singh Channi. He's a Dalit Sikh face, projected in the hope that it will rally the 32% Dalit voters of Punjab, about 22% of them being Sikh, 10% being Hindu Dalits. Let's see what actually happened amongst the Dalit voters of Punjab. Here, the Aam Aadmi Party is projected to back 38% of the Dalit Sikh vote, the Congress 35%. The Congress is doing okay, but not okay enough to be able to beat the AAP even amongst the Dalits. That's the caste that Charanjit Singh Channi comes from. The Akalis at 20 and BJP at 3. Amongst the Hindu Dalits, the AAP has 29, the Congress has much more, 40, Akali at 22. What this means is amongst the more numerically significant Sikh Dalits, Pradeep Gupta, you've got the AAP with a 3% gap. So even in the community that Charanjit Singh Channi comes from, you've not got the Congress ahead of the AAP, raising questions about whether projecting Channi really paid any dividends.
Rahul, you have to see this further in detail. Like if you say the Sikh Dalit, which is in the range of about 22% in Punjab, and Hindu Dalits, which is about 10%. So it is making the total overall Dalit population about 1/3 of Punjab population. Now when we see the Sikh Dalit, then there are at least 10 different subcastes within the Dalit.
Okay.
Ram Dasiya, Ram Gadiya, Balmiki, there are so many castes. We'll build on this in
just a moment. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav is doing a press conference at this moment in Lucknow. Let's just listen to what Akhilesh Yadav
is saying. हमें और आपको क्रांति करनी पड़ेगी। मैं तो अपने नौजवानों से अपील करूंगा कि जहां किसान इतने साल बैठे रहे, तब सरकार झुकी। कम से कम 3 दिन लोकतंत्र के अखंड प्रहरी बनकर के ईवीएम्स को बचाएं और चुनाव को बचाएं। वाराणसी की तरफ से बयान आया है। मैं किसी डीएम का इसलिए नहीं मानूंगा। डीएम कौन होता है? अगर प्रमुख सचिव मुख्यमंत्री फोन करेगा, डीएम क्या कर सकता है? डीएम की क्या हैसियत है? ये कह रहे हैं कि ये कर्मचारियों की ट्रेनिंग के लिए ये फिर जो प्रत्याशी लड़ने रहे थे उनको आखिरकार डीएम ने क्यों नहीं बताया? डीएम अगर ये जवाब दे रहा है तो उस डीएम से पूछिए कि डीएम ये बताओ कि तुमने जो प्रत्याशी चुनाव लड़े थे उसके बारे में क्यों नहीं बताया उन प्रत्याशियों को? ये डीएम आखिरकार किसके नीचे काम कर रहे हैं? और बनारस जैसी पोस्टिंग किसी डीएम को मिली होगी, इस डीएम को मैं भी जानता हूं। जब पहली पोस्टिंग मैंने मुजफ्फरनगर दी थी, मैं नहीं जानता ये डीएम कौन है, किसकी सिफारिश पे ये मुजफ्फरनगर पहली बार गया था। बेईमानी करा रहा है ये डीएम, और जवाब ये डीएम का कि ट्रेनिंग के लिए जा रहे हैं। तो आखिरकार पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज को क्यों नहीं जानकारी दी? क्या जवाब है उनके पास इसका? और जब बाकायदा गाइडलाइन लिखी हुई है यहां पर कि आप ईवीएम्स का मूवमेंट नहीं कर सकते, आप कैसे ईवीएम का मूवमेंट कर रहे हैं? आप पूछिए जिन्होंने दिया बयान। अरे भाई, मैं तो कह रहा हूं किसी आपने जो पॉलिटिकल चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं उनके बारे में क्यों नहीं बोल रहे हैं आप? और आप भी डीएम की बात को मानते हो? वो वर्जन इसलिए बोल रहे हैं क्योंकि सरकार एक भाषा बोलेगी, ऊपर से नीचे तक भाषा एक बोलेगी। आप बताइए, जब समाजवादी सरकार का चुनाव था, इलेक्शन कमीशन ने जो शिकायत की उस अधिकारी को हटाया गया? आज इलेक्शन कमीशन ने किसी अधिकारी को हटाया हो? एक अधिकारी अगर इलेक्शन कमीशन हटाया हो तो बता दो। मुझे कोई उम्मीद नहीं, इसीलिए मैं कह रहा हूं कि लोगों को लड़ना पड़ेगा। अगर लोकतंत्र बचाना है तो कहीं ना कहीं तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी लोकतंत्र बचाने के लिए। जो गाइडलाइन है, आज जो बैलेट पेपर पकड़े गए हैं सोनभद्र में, जो बैलेट पेपर पकड़े गए हैं आपके बरेली में, जिस तरह ईवीएम्स को ले आया जाता है, ये सवाल बड़ा है। अधिकारी वही भाषा बोलेंगे जो उनको बोलने के लिए सरकार कहेगी। वो नहीं चाहते कि ओम प्रकाश राजभर जी, क्या भूल गए इलेक्शन कमीशन याद नहीं है? ओम प्रकाश राजभर जी नॉमिनेशन के लिए गए, इनको अपमानित नहीं किया गया? क्या प्रशासन कार्रवाई कर रहा था? स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य जी के साथ क्या व्यवहार हुआ? कोई भूल जाएगा इन बातों को? और चुनाव भर में क्या भाषण थे, क्या भाषा का इस्तेमाल था? हर जगह डराने का काम जनता को। ये अलग बात है, कम से कम इलेक्शन कमीशन को ये देखना चाहिए, खुलेआम जनता देख रही है, आज के ज़माने में लाइव है कि किस तरीके से ईवीएम्स को ले आया जा रहा था। चुनाव आयोग को सबसे पहले जिलाधिकारी बनारस पे कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए कि आखिरकार उसने किसी को कॉन्फिडेंस में क्यों नहीं लिया। अगर मशीनें जा रही थी तो प्रत्याशियों को क्यों नहीं बताया गया, पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज को क्यों नहीं जानकारी दी गई? अगर ये गाइडलाइन में है कि नहीं है इलेक्शन कमीशन के, आप ईवीएम्स को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह मूव करा रहे हैं, आखिरकार इसके लिए जिम्मेदार कौन है? आप ईवीएम लेकर जा रहे हैं, अब 2 दिन की बात है, काउंटिंग होनी है। जैमर इसलिए कि कई लोग आशंका इस बात की व्यक्त कर रहे हैं कि हो सकता है कि टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसी हो जहां पर मैनिपुलेशन किया जा सके, इसलिए कहीं ना कहीं देखा जाना चाहिए इस बिंदु को भी।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेता लगातार कह रहे हैं कि ओम प्रकाश राजभर हो, स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य हो, संजय चौहान हो, या जो कहें कि आपके साथ जो लोग आपके चुनाव में आपके साथ आए, आपके साथ चुनाव लड़े, उनको चुनाव नहीं जीतने देंगे, उनको चुनाव किसी भी कीमत पर हम हराएंगे।
तो यही तो तरीका है, जो लड़ रहे हैं उनके बेटे ही तो लड़ रहे हैं चुनाव, जहां की ईवीएम्स पकड़ी गई हैं। और भविष्यवाणी एग्जिट पोल में कैसे आ सकती है? पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स जो बातें कहें, सत्ता के लोग बैठे हुए, वो एग्जिट पोल में कैसे दिखाई दे रहा है?
प्रशासन और सरकार की जो चोरी है इसमें एग्जिट पोल की शामिल है।
आपको ये देखना चाहिए जो एग्जिट पोल कर रहे हैं, क्या मुनाफे के लिए कर रहे थे? जो कंपनियां बड़ी बड़ी, सर्वे का पैसा कौन दे रहा है उनको? और जो डेटा दिया है चैनलों को, फ्री दिया गया है कि उपहार में दिया गया है, वो अलग बिंदु है। कोई इतनी बड़ी एक्सरसाइज कर रहा है, उसका फाइनेंशियल बर्डन कौन उठा रहा है? ये तो बातें, ये सच कह रहे हैं आप, जो बात, ये जो सवाल के रूप में जानकारी दे रहे हैं, ये सच्चाई है। जो आप सवाल के रूप में दे रहे हैं, ये सच्चाई है। आप बताइए, इनके साथ गलत व्यवहार हुआ, क्या कार्रवाई की प्रशासन ने? वीडियोज हैं सबके। जब ये नॉमिनेशन के लिए गए आप, क्या वीडियो अवेलेबल नहीं है? क्या कार्रवाई हुई उसमें? स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य जी के ऊपर जो अटैक हुआ, उस पर क्या कार्रवाई हुई? मेरे क्षेत्र में जो प्रत्याशी चुनाव लड़ने आया था, उसने अपने आप अपनी गाड़ी तोड़ी, अपने आप गाड़ी तोड़ी खुद की, और आरोप लगाए समाजवादियों पर।
क्या करेंगे जब वोट को ले आगे वो कह रहे हैं शांतिपूर्ण मतगणना के लिए वो अपील की।
नहीं, शांतिपूर्ण मतगणना के लिए तो हम भी अपील कर रहे हैं, लेकिन सावधान रहें। अगर वोट दिया है तो वोट को बचाए भी तो सही। अगर ईवीएम्स खुली सड़क पे इस तरह जाएंगी, आप क्या उम्मीद करोगे? आपके बैलेट पेपर पकड़े जा रहे हैं। आपके लखनऊ में ही एक गाड़ी पकड़ी गई थी, उसके अंदर क्या क्या था? वो कहते वो तो हर गाड़ी में टूल बॉक्स होता है। तो टूल बॉक्स में इतना बड़ा हथौड़ा थोड़ी होता है कि आप ताला तोड़ दो। वोट बचाने के लिए कहीं ना कहीं हमें एक अखंड प्रहरी की तरह काम करना पड़ेगा। और अगर हमारे किसान इतने दिनों बैठ सकते हैं, अब तो 3 दिन की बात है, 3 दिन तो बैठना ही पड़ेगा, नहीं तो ये प्रशासन के लोग बैठ करके चोरी करा देंगे। और मामूली चोरी है वोट की, ये लोकतंत्र के साथ है। लोगों को ये भूलना नहीं चाहिए आपके पड़ोसी देशों में क्या हो रहा है। इसलिए मैं ये भी गाइडलाइन पढ़ना चाहता हूं कि जो ईवीएम की मूवमेंट के लिए जो मुझे जानकारी मिली है वो मैं आपसे पढ़ना चाहता हूं कि all polled EVMs and all reserve EVMs after the poll shall be under cover of armed forces, armed police at all times. Reserve EVMs should also be returned at the same time when the polled EVMs are returned at the receipt center. Reserve EVMs shall not be kept in the strong room meant for polled EVMs. They shall be kept in another strong room meant for keeping reserve EVMs. It must be ensured that all reserve EVMs are also deposited in the strong room meant for reserve EVMs at the same time when the polled EVMs are deposited in the strong room meant for the polled EVMs. तो EVMs के लिए बिल्कुल क्लियर कहा गया है कि कैसे क्या होना है। और भाई जांच भी कौन करेगा? अगर डीएम जांच करेगा तो क्या उम्मीद करोगे आप उसके लिए? इसके आगे जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टी हम तय करेंगे क्या करना है। अगर हमें कोर्ट का भी सहारा लेना पड़ेगा लेकिन उससे पहले हम अपने पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता नेताओं और जो हमारे सच्चे पत्रकार, सच्चे पुलिस फोर्स में लोग हैं या वो लोग हैं, उनसे भी मेरी अपील होगी कि कम से कम लोकतंत्र को बचाने के लिए आगे आए। कोर्ट से पहले मैं आप लोगों के माध्यम से अपील करना चाहता हूं, ऐसे तमाम लोग जो लोकतंत्र को बचाना चाहते हैं वो कम से कम आगे आए। आपने पंचायतों का चुनाव देखा था, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने खुलेआम वोट को लूटा। जनता को याद है महिलाओं के जो कपड़े फाड़े गए, छीने गए, महाभारत के अलावा अगर किसी ने किया तो वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने करके दिखाया। क्या कार्रवाई की गई उस समय बताइए? इलेक्शन जो आपका स्टेट इलेक्शन कमीशन है, शिकायतें हुई, क्या कार्रवाई हुई उनके ऊपर? क्या कार्रवाई हुई पुलिस के ऊपर? क्या कार्रवाई हुई उन लोगों जिन्होंने वोट को छीना? इसलिए मैं अपील करता हूं आपके माध्यम से, जो सच्चे पत्रकार हैं, सच्चे अधिकारी, पुलिस फोर्स, लोकतंत्र को बचाने के लोग सामने आए जिससे लोकतंत्र बचाया जा सके।
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, ये जो घटनाएं हो रही हैं, हताशा और निराशा जो है वो पराकाष्ठा है। आप क्या ऐसा कुछ होगा क्या हमारे
मैं नौजवानों से विशेष अपील करूंगा।
So that's Akhilesh Yadav, the Samajwadi Party Supremo, talking about BJP trying to steal EVM machines through government officials. Abhishek Mishra joins us from Lucknow. What is the basis of this charge and why is Akhilesh Yadav looking so upset and furious?
Well, absolutely, Rahul, and we can certainly say that, with this allegation, Akhilesh Yadav has a sense that the kind of exit polls which has come, a massive victory for the BJP, and through this statement, Akhilesh is directly questioning the governance, the EC, and at the same time is also, speculating a possibility of EVM issue. At the same time, it is also very important that how the BJP has made it very clear that, this throughout all these all these phases, elections has been partial, but Akhilesh Yadav is time and again saying that. He's also pointed out one thing which is very important, that 47 of the seats are there where BJP has never won, and at the same time he's also saying that all these exit polls are actually trying to create a perception. So all these things gets to a conclusion that Akhilesh Yadav has a fair realization what is going to be the situation and how the things could be possibly on the day of the results. But one thing is very clear, he is giving instructions to the cadre, to the people of his party to be very aware of the counting, directly questioning the process, and at the same time also making severe allegation as far as the EVMs are concerned. Yes.
Parajita Sarangi joins us, Lok Sabha Member of Parliament, National Spokesperson for the BJP. Let's get a first reaction from the BJP on this very serious charge levelled by the SP Supremo, who seems to be suggesting that you are stealing the people's mandate.
A very good evening. Akhilesh Yadav knows what's coming. He's jittery, and that is why this kind of behavior. See, it is not easy to move the EVMs like this before the counting dates. I would say it's almost next to impossible. And if something of this sort he has perceived or he has seen or he thinks it is happening, then it can be referred to the Election Commission. Election Commission is a very important body, rather a constitutional body. An election commission will look into the matter, will examine the matter, and whosoever is responsible will be taken to task. I think Akhilesh Yadav has seen the exit poll results, and he's facing big defeat in Uttar Pradesh. And that is why he's alerting all the cadres, and he's actually trying to prepare his ground. He has to say something at the end of the show on 10th of March. So I think he would definitely be ascribing the entire defeat to handling the EVMs in this manner. I'm sure this would never have happened.
You're calling it a loser's cry? He also mentioned a point about whether TV channels pay their pollsters. Pradeep Gupta is sitting here. He sends me a fat bill each and every time after these polls get over. Akhilesh seems to think that you're doing it for free. I wish you were, Pradeep. That would make our life much easier. He's also saying ye pollsters sab bike hue hain, ye sare BJP wale. I can guarantee to you that he sends us a huge fat big bill every single time he does these exit polls.
I only wish if they can understand why we are doing exit poll, when an exit poll is very simple, where the polling is completed. Now it's just we are trying to understand where people have voted and why they have voted to a particular party, because the result which is going to come on 10th of the March definitely gives the vote share and seat share and the total counting, but it may not give the reason why people have voted in favor or against a particular party. So I request them, please understand the logic, the science behind the exit poll.
And I also want to tell our viewers that actually the exit poll changes nothing, in the sense that you will still have EVMs being opened on the 10th. You will still know what happened and why. And this is just to give you a sense of why people said they voted the way that they did. If the poll is correct, you get a broad sense of voting choices and why people picked a particular party or a particular candidate. That's all the exit poll does. So this is not part of any conspiracy. Those in the center had absolutely no idea of what's in the poll, and therefore some of this is just political posturing. The BJP says it's being done because the Samajwadi Party know that they are losing. I'm joined for a perspective from the opposition by Charanjit Singh Sapra. And remember, the Congress in states where they've lost has said in the past that the elections were rigged or that EVMs were stolen. The BJP said it in 2009 when they lost. Are we going to see, Mr. Sapra, after the 10th of March, the losers wail once again?
See, Rahul, I feel if
the Election Commission should definitely look into it, because the entire administration, the election machinery or the police is under the Election Commission now. I feel if any major political party raises a concern, it should be looked into. I don't feel that after the election there will be a cry, a loser's cry, like you rightly said. I don't think so. I feel whatever the results will come, every party will accept it in a positive way.
Okay, Jasmine Shah, is the AAP also thinking that if we win, then yeah, okay, polls were fine. If we lose, then the BJP fixed the elections and EVMs were stolen? Will that be your position as well? Aaj decide kar lo. Aaj bata do clearly.
Rahul, I don't think we should be joking about such serious allegations. And I think if a large party and a big leader of any opposition party, I'm not talking about it, could be SP today, it could be AAP tomorrow, take the facts that are being shown, take the evidence, let EC investigate it. What is the harm of having a proper investigation if there is some evidence on record? So let's not take any of these allegations lightly. We do know that BJP...
No, I'll tell you the allegation that I'm laughing at. There are two separate allegations here, Jasmine. One of them is that EVMs were tampered with or taken out of the counting stations. That's the charge that needs to be investigated. The second charge, that we are not paying our pollster, I can send Akhilesh Yadav the bill and maybe he can take some of it if he wants. Or, more importantly, that this is somehow done by a political party. It's not. It's done by the pollster. The post poll, I'm not talking about what happens in an opinion poll. I'm talking about the post poll study, which is done specifically in our case for the India Today group. What others do, I can't say. But that we are paying for our own research is something that we are 100% certain about, and we have bills to show it. But Jasmine Shah, here is the problem. If you win clear. If you lose fair. It cannot be that if we win, then the elections were fair. If we lose, then the BJP fixed the election. That's not a fair way to approach counting day.
No, absolutely not, Rahul. And I think at the end of the day, we all are in this, realm of politics because we respect democratic institutions. We respect the mandate of the people. And to the extent that we do see violation of poll codes and procedures, it has happened, for decades. You do know that, strong arm tactics are used in certain booths, but evidence is placed on record and investigation is made. And then that's how you reconcile all these incidents. So we have our faith in the Election Commission, in the neutrality of Election Commission. And come what may, we are going to respect the mandate on 10th of March unless some other evidence is presented to us.
So what I wanted to do actually was to take our viewers through the seat-by-seat data. And remember, one of the reasons why Pradeep Gupta is so confident is because he's done polling in each of the assembly constituencies. And when I come back after a break, we'll take you through the VIP candidates of Punjab and later Uttar Pradesh. And this is data which we haven't put out on our screen so far, and tell you whether Charanjit Singh Channi is popular in his seat or not, whether Prakash Singh Badalji is likely to retain his seat or not, what might happen in Patiala where Amrinder Singh is fighting, or in Amritsar East, which is where Navjot Singh Sidhu is fighting Majitia, and then what is happening in Jalalabad where Sukhbir Singh Badal is fighting, and in Dhuri where Bhagwant Mann is fighting. So those details coming up, exclusive on India Today on the other side of a very quick break. It's about to get very interesting. If you follow these elections closely, you want to know whether the leader that you track is popular on his seat or not. What are the polls saying? Find out on the other side. You're watching a deep dive into the India Today Access My India exit poll results for Punjab. What I want to do right now is take you through how the key VIP candidates are expected to fare on the 10th of March. Remember, this is not data that's been put out in the public domain so far. So you're seeing this for the first time, live, exclusive on India Today. And I want to build a caveat before I put the first data out, which is to say that what you're seeing, for example, we're starting with Bhador, which is a reserved constituency where Charanjit Singh Channi is fighting for. This is to suggest to you whether the VIP candidate is popular on his seat or not. This doesn't mean that Pradeep is projecting that candidate X, Y or Z, or in this case Channi, will win. It just says whether he's likely to do well or which party is most popular on that seat. And the interesting thing, this is the first trend we are showing you this evening, that Aam Aadmi Party, according to the Access My India data, is the most popular party in the seat of Bhador, potentially suggesting that Charanjit Singh Channi on this seat could be in for a rough time. Let's now go to Chamkaur Sahib. Chamkaur Sahib is another reserved constituency. That's the key battle that Charanjit Singh Channi was fighting. Here he's up against a Charanjit Channi of the AAP and a Harmohan Singh of the BSP. Here, Pradeep Gupta is suggesting that it's a tough fight between the Congress and the AAP on Chamkaur Sahib. Basically, you want to give Charanjit Singh Channi some sleepless nights. I can see what you are doing, Mr. Gupta.
We are trying to say that in this particular seat, both the parties, the Congress and the AAP, is almost equally popular. That's what we are trying to say. There is nothing to do with sleepless night, but the fact of the matter is that on this seat, both the parties are by and large equally popular.
And in Bhador, you're suggesting that the AAP candidate is more popular than Charanjit Singh Channi, which potentially suggests that Charanjit Singh Channi could be in for a rough ride on the 10th of March.
Yes, that is true, because traditionally, last time also Bhador, Congress was placed third position. They were in the third position, but somehow Congress decided to field a chief minister over there and try and get some kind of a momentum around that seat. That's the reason, particularly, CM contesting
from. So on both
seats.
seats, he's in for a rough ride. In Bhador, he's actually seen as being less popular than the AAP candidate. Not good news for the Congress's surprise pick for the chief minister's position. And if this is how it turns out on the 10th of March, then questions will be asked about whether projecting Channi was a good idea and whether Sidhu may have been a better deal in the end. So those questions will be asked, but you're only wise in hindsight. Let's come to the two Badals. I'll start with Prakash Singh Badal and then Sukhbir Badal. In Lambi, which is where Prakash Singh Badal Senior comes from, he's up against Gurmeet Singh of the AAP and Jagpal Singh of the Congress. Here, it's a tough fight between Akalis and the Aam Aadmi Party, which suggests that the battle could end up with either of these candidates winning, potentially suggesting that there is a chance that Badal Senior, which would be a big story on the 10th of March, if it happens like that, Badal Senior could be in a tricky position at different times on the 10th of March. That's in Lambi. Let's now go to Jalalabad, where Prakash Singh Badal's son, the former Deputy Chief Minister Sukhbir Singh Badal, fights. Here you've got Jagdeep Kamboj of the Aam Aadmi Party and Mohan Singh of the Congress. Here again, it's a tough fight between the Akalis and the Aam Aadmi Party, suggesting it's not a clean, clear victory for Sukhbir. The data suggests it's a tough fight. I just want to say that I am only giving you the information I have received from Pradeep Gupta. So don't blame me later if this is now how it turns out. And we're only giving you a sense, because this is granular seat-by-seat polling, to give you a sense of what the numbers are suggesting. It's a tough fight between the AAP and the Akalis in Jalalabad, which is where Sukhbir Singh Badal comes from. And I'm going to wear a helmet, I'm going to wear a bulletproof jacket just to be safe and secure on the 10th. But this is part of our coverage and to give you a sense of the VIP seats. Both the Badals, you think, could be in a tough spot?
Not exactly both the Badals, but I would say Lambi is traditionally being a senior Badal seat. So I don't see much of a difference there. I mean, there should not be any problem when it comes to a senior Badal. But on Jalalabad, where the junior Badal is there, both the party, I am not getting onto the personal this kind of thing, because when we ask which party is popular on a particular polling day. That is where equally the same number for Aam Aadmi Party and junior Badal on Jalalabad seat. That's what we are saying.
Okay, let's now come to Patiala. This is where Captain Amrinder Singh contests from. It's been his pocket borough for decades. And the interesting thing is that you've actually got Pradeep Gupta suggesting that Ajit Pal Singh Kohli of the Aam Aadmi Party is more popular than Captain Amrinder Singh in Patiala, which, given the fact that his family is the erstwhile rulers of Patiala, that would be a real shake-up for Captain Saab if that's how it turns out on the 10th of March.
This is going to be, I think, biggest surprise if it happens. This is going to be the biggest surprise, because when our people ask which party is more popular here, I mean, most of them said Aam Aadmi Party.
Which would be a political earthquake of sorts. If Amrinder Singh, in his last leg as a politician, loses on his home seat in Patiala, there would be big questions about whether he made the right move by joining and allying with the BJP as part of the NDA alliance, or whether he should have just walked out into the sunset with his head held high as the former chief minister. Did he make a big mistake? His overall party also not seeming to do well. Okay, from Patiala, let's go to Amritsar East. Amritsar East, mind you, is the most high-profile battle of the Punjab elections. Over here, Congress's heavyweight candidate Navjot Singh Sidhu is up against Bikram Singh Majithia. The lady that you see on your screen is Jeevan Jyot Kaur. She's from the Aam Aadmi Party. But the battle, at least in terms of perception, was between Majithia and Sidhu. It's a very, very personal battle between these two. Majithia, when he was key minister in the Badal government, was constantly attacked by Sidhu as being a drug baron. Majithia hated that charge, said it is untrue, and now he came to Amritsar East to teach Navjot Singh Sidhu a lesson. However, the poll done again by Pradeep Gupta of the Access My India suggests that in the seat of Amritsar East, it's actually a tough fight between Congress and AAP. So you're saying the battle from your data is between Navjot Singh Sidhu and Jeevan Jyot Kaur, with Bikram Singh Majithia being less popular than those two.
Yes, the order is in, the top two parties are more popular, which is first is the Congress and second is the Aam Aadmi Party, and the third one was the SAD, Akali Dal, Shiromani Akali Dal.
Okay, You're giving lots of people with this data palpitations.
No, I'm trying to tell the truth on the polling date what we captured.
Oh, sure, that's true. This is at least for the respondents he spoke to in these seats. This is the flavor that he picked up. Let's come now to the seat of Bhagwant Mann. He comes from Sangrur. He's contesting from a seat called Dhuri. Here he's up against Dalveer Singh Goldie, who's the sitting MLA from the Congress party. And here Bhagwant Mann seems to be leading in style. He's a rock star in Malwa, in Sangrur, and where he comes from. You know, some of his road shows are just attracting wild audiences.
A two-time MP and CM candidate declared, bound to be very popular.
Okay, let's now come to Jalalabad. In Jalalabad, no, we've done Jalalabad already. We've done Jalalabad and Lambi. So that is the data that I have for Punjab, which has all the candidates so far. And I'll just take you through some of the others. If you're wondering what's happening to Rajinder Kaur Bhattal in Lehra, there the Aam Aadmi Party is more popular. If you're wondering what's happening to Vijay Sampla, who's the former BJP Minister of State from Phagwada, which is a reserved seat, there the AAP is popular. Net, it seems, BJP thought breaking away from the Akalis would help them increase their seat count. That may not, they've expanded their geographical reach politically, but not converting into seats. Akalis being a diminished force in Punjab and AAP being the emerging force.
Yeah, that's true, Rahul, because BJP, the first time, literally, I mean, forming the alliance with newly formed Captain's Party is not going to make any difference whatsoever. But the good news for the BJP is that they are holding on to their votes there by and large, and mostly to their seats there as well.
I'm going to slip into
without
a quick
Akali, without
break right
Akali.
now.
That's very important.
We've been through the VIP candidates of Punjab, already receiving lots of messages about some of these projections, predictions, estimates put out by Pradeep Gupta. As I said, it gives you a sense of whether that candidate is well placed and comfortable on that seat, or could it be a tricky fight, or is he actually trailing in the poll? We'll come back and we'll do the same in Uttar Pradesh. So we'll tell you how Yogi Adityanath is doing, the Chief Minister on his seat in Gorakhpur, Akhilesh Yadav, and everyone else, all the VIP candidates you've been seeing over the past several weeks. How are they faring in Uttar Pradesh? We'll get you those details when we come back on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us. You're watching India Today.